I'm a bit of a nut for history and politics, and there's a very famous diplomat called Otto von Bismarck, and a really funny quote about laws. And the quote goes, "Laws are like sausages. Best to not watch them being made." Now, of course, you might ask, what does this exactly have to do with data? Uh, but I think this actually has an important potential lesson slash warning when doing data analysis, and we'll be discussing that today on Data Troll. So, uh, to go back to that saying, laws are like sausages. Uh, Best not to watch how they are made. What Otto von Bismarck is saying is that the process of making these things is somewhat off-putting and actually might ruin the person's impression of the final product. So, for instance, in the case of sausages, it would be watching maybe organs or kind of parts of the body we wouldn't usually eat, watching that being ground up and put into a sausage. In the case of laws, that would be maybe seeing how some laws are made behind the scenes with maybe callous horse trading, self-interest from the legislators, lobbying, these kind of things that might put off people and make them question the intent of the laws. So those are for those things, and I think what it could, the lesson it could possibly provide for data is the same thing, that if you provide too much detail on the process of providing the findings, of finding the information, that actually might be unconstructive or deconstructive rather than strengthen the findings or the impression of your findings to your stakeholders. So to begin with, I think it's important to note that often people don't really care about the process or what it takes to provide a service or product. They just care whether the service or product works. Most people buying an Xbox or a piece of clothing aren't going to care how these things were made or provided or the craft behind them. They're just going to, care if the Xbox games are fun, and they're going to care if the clothing looks good and is comfortable, and that's all. But I think, especially with data, it goes further back to Otto von Bismarck saying that the process, if you provide too much, it might actually dissuade people. It might actually, undermine their impression of the final product. So I guess a good starting point in this is to ask, why would you provide all this information? What would motivate somebody to kind of go through and explain all their process and all these details? Well, one is, I think, first of all, there's a lot of investment or interest that could lead the person doing the data analysis, the predictions, to kind of really talk about the process. Because first of all, like me, they might find the process really interesting. It's fun learning about the programming. It's fun learning about the modeling. It's fun getting results in the challenge. And you, of course, would want to share that with the world. Secondly, there's a lot of time investment in this, like anything else which is worthwhile in this world. Just like a movie would take, years and years of effort collectively to make, it's 1 hour. So, all that time most people don't see, even though so many people have invested time in it. Well, it's the same thing with data. Often you're spending hours and hours, accessing the data, cleaning the data, wrangling the data. I've heard estimates that data cleaning often takes about 80% of the time, and in my personal experience, I would believe that. And you're going through all this effort, putting all this time in, and the end result is a very succinct, small product. So it's like a finding like, last year this building used 250 kilowatts, or okay, based on our prediction, we think there's a 60% chance that this company's client will leave this year. It can feel kind of underwhelming, but I think it's important to realize that you need to leave. Sometimes the key part for the client is really to provide that succinct findings and story, and just that, because that's what they're looking for. Um, in fact, I think, as I said before, you can even undermine the process by providing too much information in a couple of ways. So, first of all, you can, first of all, it might actually, if you provide too much information, it might make the client further question the findings or undermine their impression of the findings. So for instance, if you start talking, going in depth about the uncertainty of the process, and even if it's a reasonable level of uncertainty, the stakeholder may not understand that and may not be able to put that uncertainty in context, and they might feel, oh, this is uncertain, this is no good. Or if you kind of show, okay, here are all the data errors I had to fix, here's all the cleaning I had to do. Again, it might actually lead them to question the final product. And secondly, the issue is that it might also furthermore lead them to kind of get more involved in the process in an unhelpful way. If you give out more and more details and information during the process of providing your analysis or findings, they will further scrutinize it, and scrutinizing it, they will further second guess that. Sports is a great example of this. In sports, it's quite transparent how they get the results, because you get to watch games. You get to watch games or hear games, and you get to basically learn about every player's and every coach's decision on that field. And with that comes a lot of second guessing from outsiders. So it becomes actually, for sports teams, it becomes its own job and task to manage this public opinion, the media opinion, and to also try and not have it impact their own decisions. And the problem is that a lot of these fans aren't actually qualified to have a strong opinion, but they still do. And this same thing could happen when you provide data analysis. They can look closer and start trying to micromanage you, even if they don't actually have the proper insights to micromanage you. So, for that reason, I feel that Otto von Bismarck's saying is quite an important warning. And in response to his saying of laws are like sausages, it's best to not watch them be made. Yeah, don't show them how the sausage is made. Don't show them what's in the sausage. Just provide them with the sausage. That's all. And as a closing note, to be clear, I'm not saying to be ingenuous or to hide things or whatnot. What I am saying is you have to strategically think about how much you want to reveal the process and whether that will be constructive to providing the findings and the story or not. So, yep, that were my thoughts today. If you liked the video, please give a like and a subscription, and I'll see you in the next one.